Markets go up and down. But if you're waking up where you want to wake up and going to sleep where you want to go to sleep and living your days in between where you want to be, but if you're buying your home, we all hope that when you sell it, it's worth more than when you bought it. And that's something I hammered into my team. Anytime you're at all in a conflict about which way to go or what to advise or what to do, you need to stop and say, what's the best thing for the client?
Yeah.
And that's the answer.
Yeah.
No matter what else. I never want a seller to say, maybe somebody didn't see it. Somebody didn't know it was for sale.
Okay, so here we are, Rate of Success podcast. I am joined by the one and only Ruth Sheahan. So Ruth and I have known each other for quite some time, so I'm excited to finally get her one-on-one. I finally talked her into doing it. So Ruth, why don't you just tell me a little bit of, how you got in the business, how long you've been in the business, and kind of what that journey was like.
That's going to take longer than
okay, let's do it.
The podcast.
Yeah.
But I started in 2014. I had thought about being a realtor a lot.
Yeah.
But it was never seemed like the right time. Either my kids were too young or the market was obviously wonky.
It was an interesting time in 2014, yeah.
Exactly. So there was a while when it seemed like everybody was a realtor. Like, I'm a bartender and a realtor. I'm a doctor and a realtor. Everybody had their license.
Yeah.
It's almost gotten a bit like that again.
Yeah.
And then the crash came. And I started looking around. My kids were getting old enough to, spend a little time on their own. I felt like I wanted to do more than I was doing. I've always been, an entrepreneur. I always had a business of some sort going.
Yeah.
Well, some of them my accountant called a hobby, but that's another story.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about real estate again, and it just made more and more sense. And then when I went every step of the way, it was kind of like, well, I'll take the class and see how that goes. I'll get my license, see how that goes. Every step, I just felt like all the other things I'd done in my life, owning a bar, working in restaurants, running a chamber of commerce, running a small business, and my online marketing company, all were the skills that I needed to do this well.
Yeah, I love that.
Just all came
because
together.
I think why I always love asking that question is I always feel like kind of what we've done before, running a business, that's why everyone doesn't make it in real estate, because they don't have those skill sets.
Yeah.
They don't have that, work ethic. They don't have that ability to know and understand that you're not going to get a paycheck
That's
on the 15th and the 30th.
Thing, right?
Yeah. And you whatever you do is what you're going to create.
Yes.
And that takes a very specific mindset for people. I never even, as long as we've known each other, I never knew that you owned a bar and these other things. So how do you lean on that experience a lot day to day? Like what you learned?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
Did you manage people during those times as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of skill sets then with dealing with customers or people that work on your team that you learned during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So obviously when you're working in a bar, and especially when you're a woman who owns a bar, you've got to have some real diplomacy skills.
Yeah. How long did you do that for?
6 years.
Okay. Wow.
But I was in the bar business for many years.
Okay.
Probably
So what made you, just on that a little bit, because I always find this interesting. So you're in the bar business, so I'm assuming you were like a bartender or something, or worked in the bar. So what, because not everyone that does that decides, I'm going to open up my own bar.
Okay, so you've read the E-Myth. I know you have, right?
Yeah.
He describes it perfectly.
Yeah.
A technician, the person who does the job, has an entrepreneurial fit and feels like they should be in the business of doing that job.
Yeah.
So the bartender opens a bar.
So, I mean, that's like, what would you say, 5 or 10% of people that would ever think to open up a bar. So that says a lot about who you are, that you would, in your mind at that time, because I'm sure you weren't reading the E-Myth back then.
I wish I had.
I know, exactly.
My bar would have done better.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you had that mindset, which again, it's almost like you're not thinking about, are you going to fail, or is it going to work? Is it like all the things that go through people's head of why they don't take risks in life?
I think that's like a part of my brain that's missing, and most entrepreneurs. Like I think if somebody stopped and said, "Are you afraid of this?" I'd probably go, "Maybe I should be."
Yeah.
But I literally didn't probably really think about that. I knew what the statistics were. I knew that most people don't make it, but it sort of didn't occur to me that I wouldn't. Like I'd been in the business. I had a lot of the skills, not, all of them, but I figured I could figure it out. And we did okay. It's a tough business, as you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I got married. I married a customer.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
and had a baby, and then that was too much. So we got out of that business, but it taught me so much that I literally lean into every day. Yeah,
I mean, that's great. I love that because I think a lot of these successful realtors that I know, that's why I love talking about this, is like, they had an experience that they did before, business owners. A lot of them were in the corporate world, structure, responsibility. It's I don't have a lot of conversations, obviously, of people that are successful, like, I got in the business because I wanted to make my own schedule, all the things that we hear a lot of people that get into real estate. So you get in 2014, which was a very, very unique time.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that first couple of years like? Obviously coming from the bar business was just totally different. And now you're in real estate.
It was different, but as you said, it was similar in a lot of ways. I had to, hunt my own food.
It's actually a really good time to get in the business because it's like getting in now.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, prior to 2008 where it was easy.
Right.
Okay. It wasn't like it was COVID where people got in and were order takers and, oh my God, my phone's ringing and this is great. You had to hunt.
And I had to learn, I had to develop some real good skills really fast.
Yeah. So who did you come in under someone or were you
no.
Okay.
So I started with, I won't name it because it was probably the worst choice I could have made in a broker. Not because it's a terrible business model, but it's a terrible business model for a brand new agent.
Yeah.
So there's little support.
Yeah.
I thought, saving money looks like an important thing to do.
Yeah.
I'd already spent more than I had to get my license. And so saving money seemed like a good thing. Now I tell new agents, you need to understand you're in graduate school now and you're going to be paying tuition for a while.
Yeah.
Whether that's in work or in money, you're going to be, of course I say this to the kids, you're going to be writing more checks than you cash and they don't know what a check is. But
but do you feel like back then though in 2014, because I've been in the business since 2001 around there, 2002, like there wasn't as much training as there is now. Like it was a really survival of.
I had to find it all.
Yeah.
And so one thing, I had an online marketing company before that. So I knew what most agents didn't and what most agents were trying to figure out. How do you do social media? How do you use these online tools? One of the things that was so surprising to me and talking about people getting into the business, the thing, I had no idea what I was getting into and neither does anybody else. Nobody understands what we do until you get to this side of it. I think that's kind of my mission, to help people understand what exactly we do, because it's sort of like a mystery. But one of the things that was so surprising to me was I would sign up for a class, like a marketing class, and think, I'm going to learn how to market properties. Yeah. Didn't exist. There was nothing to teach me anything beyond what I knew, which was something. Every single class was about how to market yourself. And I'm like, but I already got that. Yeah. How do I sell houses?
Yeah. Well, there's no YouTube videos you could watch. There was no getting together with other realtors, because I feel like back then too, it was a lot of, everyone was afraid to share.
Yes.
Including companies.
A lot still are.
Well, yeah, but I feel like there's a lot, and we'll get to that a little bit, but I feel like there's a lot more access to information. I feel like is at your fingertips with whatever you want, especially with ChatGPT and AI and YouTube. There's almost too much.
There is way too much
to absorb. Yeah. And I feel like that's if you had to do it all over again and enter the business, and do it today, what would that look like based on everything that you know now? Like, how would you advise someone to get in the business today?
So one thing I really think every new agent should start on a team.
Yeah.
I think,
love that too, because I say the same thing.
yeah, we should have an apprentice program.
Yeah.
You are not ready to jump in and start handling people's $800,000 asset when you've taken a 6-week course. You can get ready and you can have enough support to be able to do it, but that support I think comes best in a team. And there's good teams and bad teams, so you definitely have to do your research. Don't just jump onto something because they say they'll take you. But again, don't be looking at what's the cheapest team I can find. You want a team that you're going to get that graduate school degree, and then you're going to be able to, function.
I always say, like with Tom or anybody, it's reps. So like, if you're working on a team, you may do something 15 to 20 times a week, and those reps, not only are you doing them yourself, but you have someone looking over your shoulder to make sure, because they're not your clients, they're someone else's, and they're going to mentor you and they're going to give you, but you're doing that 20 times a week, okay? Yep. You're on your own. You're lucky to do that 1 or 2 times a week, and you have nobody telling you that you're doing it right or wrong. And for me, like, your runway can be so much shorter to being able to be on your own, working with the team. I've seen established agents, and I love seeing this because it makes makes sense. I've seen people that have been in the business for 10 years move to another state and go into a different market, and they go on a team.
And join a team, absolutely. Because they understand the value of it.
They understand the value of it, but it's not that they don't know how to do real estate. They want to learn how they do real estate in that state. Right. Because there's always little nuances.
And it's not okay to just make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, I learned better that way. Okay, it's somebody else's money.
Yeah.
You can't experiment with somebody else's listing.
Yeah.
And I see it happen a lot. And of course, as a new agent, maybe they'll do it for less or whatever. And then they think they've got a license, so they can.
Yeah.
And they really can sometimes do a big disservice to people.
So,
I love new agents. I love their energy. I love, they sometimes know things that I don't because they just came out of class. But they have to understand what they don't know, and that's probably the hardest thing to figure out.
Well, and I think as an industry, I think there's things that we can all do for either new loan officers or new realtors that can make the barrier to entry a better process for them, because I feel like both of our industries, it's difficult. Yeah. It's not an easy industry to come in. You got to get licensed. You got to come in. There's a lot of competition for new agents, and some of them, they suppose they have all this training, but you have these people that will go to training every single week, 3 times a week, and still when they get a transaction, they struggle because, again, there's nothing more beneficial than doing something with someone who's done it someone following you around for 2 months would probably learn more doing that than they would being in training for, a year. Yeah. Because on the job training, there's nothing compared to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so much that you can't anticipate. Like, we have to think on the fly. We have to solve problems.
People problems.
Yeah. And, we're both walking somebody through what is typically the most money they're ever going to spend in one day, right?
And I always say there are very, very few industries where a salesperson sits in front of a client in their home today. Yeah. I mean, think about it. How many people have you had in your home for anything? Like, it doesn't exist anymore. No. And realtors are one of the few that will still go to a listing appointment. Yeah. And will show up at their house face to face. And I don't think people understand who have never done that. You're not in your home, you're in their home. It's a lot to invite someone into your home, number one, but then to be able to, convince them that you're the agent that they should be working with. Like, there aren't very many industries where you have to do that. People can hide behind email, text. So that takes a very particular skill set that, as an entrepreneur, you probably excelled at a lot better than what most people could. And there's no training that prepares you for a face-to-face meeting in the evening with their kids running around the background. Yeah. Nobody prepares you for that. Yeah. And to give them sometimes not what they want to hear.
That's a big one. And that was one of those things, like, when you talk about developing skills, I think that's it's also like a, abstract concept.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones, figuring out. I remember Brian Buffini, and you and I met at a Buffini event. One of his best quotes is, good realtors can give good news.
Yeah.
It takes a great realtor to give bad news.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now is the time when we're sitting with people and looking at what the market is saying.
Yeah.
And saying, this is not where you think it is.
So on that, because I think it's important for consumers to understand, because so much recently has been focused on so many different areas. And, a lot of what we do is very, maybe you sell a house in your entire lifetime, maybe 4 to 7 times, I think, are the stats.
Yeah.
If that, some people it's even less than that. And I always say kind of like the worst comes out in people during a real estate transaction.
Yes.
You can have, it's stressful. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of emotions. And it takes a very special individual, in sales to be able to not react, to understand that you're doing everything possible, that you need to be transparent and let them know. It's something, if you're in my office, I talk about transparency all the time, and to your point, I always use that. A good loan officer, can have easy conversations. A great loan officer can have really difficult, and I have a lot of them day to day. And I always say you got to give bad news quickly. But where do you think that has been your biggest strength, is being able to handle those conversations? Because you would have never have been in the business since 2014 if you weren't able to that. So how do you handle those conversations? Do you try to have them immediately, or do you try to what's your skill set to be able to have those conversations?
Yes. When I have bad news, I try to give it quickly. I also, I don't text bad news.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was 22 years old working at a biker bar in Indiana. I had to stop a fight before it ever happened, or
Where
I
you
would
had
have
to
been
cut
dead.
people off, and yeah.
So
These are easy conversations compared
this
to.
is nothing.
I love that.
My life
Yeah.
is not
I
usually
love
in
that.
danger
Yeah.
when I'm telling
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
your offer didn't get accepted.
The fact that you just brought that to your head that quickly means that you've had that in your head numerous conversations where you've gotten back
really
to
true.
that.
Like I remember the time it happened.
Yeah,
When I had to get between two guys who were.
So when you're giving
twice my
bad
size.
news, that goes in your head. You're like, okay, it's not that bad. I need to handle this. I'm doing what's best for the family.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I don't have I can talk.
Yeah.
That's it. So I have to find what's going to be effective, and to me, helping people really understand. I think it's not just what we do, but the whole process isn't something that people understand well.
Yeah.
What do we mean when we talk about the market?
Yeah.
It's such a, again, abstract concept.
Yeah.
Helping people understand. It took me probably 2 years of doing this before I really understood how the market works, and how market forces, people would say they're out of our control, but I was like, are they really? Can't we?
Yeah.
We do price,
But don't you
right?
think your understanding of the market helps you better navigate your client's understanding of it?
Absolutely.
And rather just saying
it helps them really understand it.
Yeah.
I was just telling a story. I got a call a couple of weeks ago from someone who was very upset because she had hired another realtor, and she said, I see your name and people recommend you everywhere. I don't know why she didn't call me first, but she didn't. That's fine.
Yeah.
But she said, my realtor told me that if we priced where we priced, we would get multiple offers and it would be sold for well over that price.
Yeah.
And that was 2 weeks ago. And I have one offer that's significantly under where we priced.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't help you because that's against our code of ethics. I can't interfere with another agent's client, which is the right thing, by the way, because I don't know everything that's involved. But the idea that someone would guarantee somebody that their strategy would work.
Yeah.
We only can see the market in our rearview mirror.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's coming next week. I mean, didn't we all learn that?
Oh, yeah. We should have learned that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things I often bring up is I would tell people anything could happen. We could go to war. There could be a natural disaster. I never thought of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Nor did I think that we'd have a pandemic, and everybody would do the opposite of what we think they would do in a pandemic, right?
Yeah. But don't
Everybody
you
went
remember
out
when
and
the
bought a
pandemic
house.
started, though? We thought it was going to, like, no one was going to buy real estate.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the exact opposite.
And that's the logical reaction to a pandemic. Instead, everybody went out and bought a house. Right? It was crazy. So we don't know. You are very good at this when you talk to realtors and you give us like the lay of the land and the predictions and all that stuff, and you cite a lot of sources. It's very easy to see. Predictions are all over the place.
Yeah.
What difference does it make where it's going?
Yeah. Well, it's just noise.
Where does somebody need to live?
Yeah.
Like, that's the important question.
No, I think just on that, and I think it's important, is just there's just so much noise for people, especially now. You know, we talked about access to more information. You know, buyers can go onto ChatGPT and say, you know, what question should I ask a realtor? What question should I ask a lender? Like all these different things. So they're coming to us with a lot more information, or they will be soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I think is amazing, you know, because I'm always surprised when people don't ask more questions, you know, and then have a bad experience because, you know, they're almost like thinking it should be easier. So that, you know, it's like push button, buy a house. Like it's that, you know, there's a lot of industries where, you know, speed is good, you know, and listen, we promote speed and I think it's great, but I also think that speed is less about how fast you do something. And what's more important is the experience that you have doing that. And if you get something done in 5 days and close and the client is confused about it, you've accomplished nothing.
Your speed is on the back end, not on the front end.
Yeah. It's all the work that you do up front with the client. Like I always say, it's easy for us to close a loan. Like that is the easy part. Yeah. Okay. Like I have a great team. We work on that all the time and that's easy. It's all the work that I do from the time the person applies until the time they get a contract that is really where the secret sauce is.
Right.
Because the more educated someone is before they go hop in a car with you or go out and see a home, the better you're going to be able to help them find the home that they want, win the house that they want, and have the least amount of issues. When we just, you know, back in the day would send out a pre-approval and, you know, like that was scary.
Yeah.
So on that, I was curious about your process because process is something that is very, you know, I'm very passionate about it. I talk about my team. We just had a meeting this morning. I'm constantly talking about it. In your business, being an entrepreneur, okay, when you go on a listing presentation, let's say, do you tailor your listing presentation to the specific situation of the seller? Or are you more, this is how I work, and these are the things that I do, and get them on board? Or is it kind of a mixture of the two?
So sometimes there's a little bit of a mixture, but I would consider the first option to be a great disservice.
Yeah.
So we talked about the E-Myth, all about systems, right?
Yeah.
My first job in the restaurant industry was at the Hyatt Lodge in Oak Brook, Illinois.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're familiar with it, it was, when it was built, the marriage of two huge corporations, McDonald's and Hyatt.
Yes.
I was fascinated by the systems. So McDonald's obviously is, they take systems to a psychotic level.
Yeah.
Hyatt, very systematic. One of the examples I do when I teach a class on systems is I still remember, it was 36312. That was the number of sugars in the sugar bowl.
Wow.
So each kind of sugar, white sugar, equal, whatever. And that was nationwide.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's changed since then, but they had studied the rate at which most people would use the sugars in the sugar bowl.
Yeah.
And the purpose of it was, so in the course of an evening, no one ever ran out of sugar on their table.
Wow.
You'd have somebody come in from another state to your hotel, and the first thing they would do was walk over to a table and count the sugars. And they knew it was kind of like the green M&Ms in the bands, right?
Yeah.
Or the brown M&Ms. If the sugars were wrong, other things were wrong too.
Yeah. It was,
Right? So that made such an impression on me.
Yeah.
And I was always like, if we can figure out the process, 90% of it is always going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Then the rest of it, is going to be customized. It's going to.
Do you feel like when you follow the process,
out.
it gives you more time to handhold the consumer then? Because you're not.
It gives you more time for everything. It also gives you all the framework to for anything to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And you're ready for it to happen if it does.
Exactly.
But don't you feel like, because this is what I always say, like, don't you feel like, especially after everything that happened with, the commission, lawsuit and all those things, it's like people hire you for your process.
Yeah.
Like being a top producer isn't about doing a lot of like selling a lot of homes.
Right.
It's about your process, your team, the people you put around you, the attorney that you use, the home inspector. And I think that was the one thing that kind of got lost, I think, over the last several years especially with COVID, because it was, nobody was picking a team, because of their experience. It was like, who can get me to the home the quickest?
Right.
And who's going to get the offer accepted? And I need to write it tonight. And, where now it's that. But do you feel like,
all those things were just as important during that time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just that a whole lot of people weren't paying attention to it.
No. And I think people got away from their process,
Yeah.
because they had to, because of volume. But I feel like, people hire you for process, and, that's your value to them.
Yeah.
It's something I talk about a lot, but how much of your process do you have to reevaluate? Is it something you do all the time?
All the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Usually we find a hole,
Yeah.
Tammy, Tammy well.
Yeah.
My assistant will say, we didn't get a response from somebody on this. That happens a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
well, if it happens a lot, let's figure out where the problem is. What are we doing? Is it the subject line? Is it when it's sent? Is it the body of the email?
Yeah.
And then we look at those things and we try something else. So our systems are constantly evolving. That drives Tammy a little bit crazy.
Well, it drives my team crazy too.
Yeah.
So yeah. Because I'm like, whenever something goes wrong, I always go back to, I know something didn't get done in the process.
Right.
Because I've thought of what I think to be everything. But I think, is there like a tendency sometimes when you have one of those one-offs and you have to be careful not to make too many changes in your process? Because sometimes, we're in our own way sometimes because we're so...
We're the bottleneck, and we're trying to get to perfection,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And so one thing I have to do is step back and tell Tammy she needs to make those decisions that she's perfectly capable of.
Yeah.
Right. And so I cannot be the thing holding it up.
Yeah.
Yes. I think sometimes so if she asks me a question, the first thing I want to do is figure it out and answer it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need not to do that because it's specific to that person or that occurrence. We need to look at, is it systemic or is it just this one thing?
And can you delegate it to someone else to solve? Yeah.
So that happens a lot.
So I guess one of the things I'm curious about too is like, as many conversations that you have with buyers and sellers, and you have this process, what is like that one thing that you wish more buyers and sellers like knew or understood about the process that you consistently, is there anything that jumps out at you that, you just wish that people understood more about, buying a home or selling a home? And the reason I ask this, I'll give you a second to think about it, is someone asked me this previously, and I had to think about it for a second, but then I started thinking about like first-time home buyers and why they're not buying. And we got to this whole conversation about, there's so much about how to buy a home or how to sell a home, but there's not a lot of content on why you should sell your home now versus later, why you should buy a home versus renting. Like we focus so much on the how. Like think about it. Like if we have a folder back in the day, we had all these 10 steps to sell a home.
Yeah.
Okay. But it didn't go into like why you should sell your home now versus later, why home prices are going to continue to go up. Why, like the why is the thing that most people, we were talking in our earlier meeting about why the market's frozen, like all these different things. But most of us don't do marketing for that.
And I will tell you, the thing I see over and over again, we were talking about how there's not a lot of, I'm going to move because I want to.
Yeah.
It's not because people don't want to move.
Yeah.
It's because they're frozen. And I think it's because of just what you're talking about. All the information, people don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't want to make the wrong choice. And what I try to get across to people is, okay, we can talk a little bit about the market, but it's completely out of our control.
Yeah.
You're never going to time it if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You're never going to get the right, prediction that you're going to nail it and sell at the top and buy at the bottom.
Timing the market, never. Yeah. Yeah.
Even the experts on Wall Street can't time the market. So why do you think you can, right? So let's talk about where you want to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's put all of that noise that you're talking about. Okay, interest rates go up and down. Can you afford it?
Do you feel like people are getting more comfortable with where the market is today than they were even a year or two ago?
I think they're more confused.
Yeah.
And they're more focused on things that they shouldn't be focused on.
Yeah.
How's the market is the question I hear all the time. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a while when if you told me you were trying to buy, I would tell you it was terrible.
Yeah.
If you were trying to sell, I would tell you it's the best ever.
Yeah.
So how's the market? But what difference does that make if you're buying and selling?
Do you get people that ask you, you're in real estate, are you ever surprised by their reaction? Do they ever, what, it must be this, or like, because sometimes when I tell people I'm in the mortgage business, like they're always like, oh my God, you got to be dying. Like it's got to be so, like most people have no idea what I do, what the business is like. Like, do you find that at all being a realtor?
All the time.
Yeah.
And they're listening to news out of California or Texas or Florida or New York.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And again, it's this bigger market, like this portfolio.
Yeah.
If you're buying an investment property, we'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
But if you're buying your home, we all hope that when you sell it, it's worth more than when you bought it.
So something I think about, I'm just curious your thought on it, but like something I always think about is average first-time homebuyer age last year was 38.
Yeah.
This year I think it's 36, so it's getting a little bit better. But 38 I think was an outlier a little bit, but let's just say it's 36.
And what is an average buyer overall like?
It's like 40. Yeah. It's high. I think it's 48. Maybe even 50s, but yeah, they're both trending much higher.
Yeah.
Okay. And we all kind of know the reasons and understand interest rates, all this stuff. The one thing that I always think about though is, you got in the business in 2014. Okay. I wonder how much of this, and I'm sure there'll be studies on this at some point, but I wonder how much of it, if you're 36 in 2010, what were you, 26, 25, somewhere, I'm doing bad math. Okay.
Like that.
These buyers may have seen their parents go through, a really bad time.
Yeah.
Okay. Could be a foreclosure, could be a short sale. It could be they were underwater. They struggled. My dad lost his job. My mom lost their job. They couldn't make their payments. We were evicted, like all those things. Because I remember that time vividly.
Yeah.
Okay. And I remember getting phone calls every day and not being able to help everyone. So I just wonder if that stat is what it is because of, at least a portion of it. And I know it's, all these other things and dynamics and it's generational and everything, but I wonder how much it is because of what they saw their parents go
I think
through.
a lot of it is that. I think there's a lot, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think that's big. And I remember when I started, that's who I was working with, so I was talking to first-time buyers who had just seen their entire families get obliterated. Right?
Yeah.
All of their older brothers and sisters lost their houses. Their parents might have lost their house. And they were so afraid of what was going to happen. And that's when I started saying to people, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah.
Markets go up and down. But if you're waking up where you want to wake up and going to sleep where you want to go to sleep and living your days in between where you want to be, and you're okay writing the check every month, you won the market.
Yeah.
So focus on that. And a lot of people, I think, found that really helpful. Like, okay, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to carry the weight of the entire economy on my shoulders right now, right?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of people who didn't come to me and didn't get that speech.
Yeah.
There was also kind of a trend, I think, of not owning things.
Yeah.
And as generational trends do, that's changing.
Yeah.
So there was a whole, we're just going to have experiences. We're not going to own things, right?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I guess you grow up, right?
Yeah, but I think, too, the biggest challenge with that, which my biggest concern is that I look at people's financials every single day. Take homeownership out of it for a moment. The amount of people that I meet with that are in their mid-30s and have zero saved for retirement is extremely scary. If you talk to financial advisors, you know, and you hear from people like, you know, most people don't have pensions anymore. Most people don't have and, you know, I always tell, you know, people I know, like, do you want to live a good life now or do you want to live a good life when you retire? Like, there has to be a little bit of both. So I think buying a home, okay, in a lot of ways. And the reason why I asked you the original question about delaying homeownership because of fear, what their parents through, I see a lot of 20 to 28, 29-year-olds that have no fear about buying. I have a loan officer in my office that's under 25 that owns 4 properties.
Wow.
To me, I think back of when I was that age and the money I was blowing on at clubs and bars, and to see someone own that many properties, you know, I just feel like that generation, you know, is going to probably become homeowners much earlier in life because they haven't had a 2008 to really give them in their mind.
So what have they seen? They've seen everybody buy a house and the value skyrocket.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm interested to see in like 5, 6, 7 years how different that dynamic is, because I think, you know, it's like Gen Z, I think they're going to be the ones that, you know, I think are going to become homeowners at a much quicker pace. Yeah. At a much younger age. They're coming out of college making a lot more money. They don't have the student loan debt that a lot of kids have, you know, that are older. Maybe they have a little bit, but I mean, I think they're not. I think the other challenge is that if you wait to buy, you're racking up other debt too. Right. Cars, you know, you're in these high-end rentals, you know, that are, you know, they look great. Yeah. But you're not earning anything. So I think it's going to be interesting for our industry to see what happens with demographics, because I think, you know, they always say demographics is our destiny, you know, in real estate. And I really think that, you know, that 20 to 28-year-olds are really going to step up to the plate and start buying at a much quicker pace than anybody else. I see them also being more realistic. Yeah. So those people who are a little bit older than them were looking to buy their forever home. Yeah. That's the second time I've done air quotes in this interview. No, and you're good. You're good. We can make sure to do a sound effect every time you do it. Yeah. But that I think the phrase "forever home" puts an awful lot of pressure on everybody, right? Yeah. Because I don't think there's any home that can serve your life forever. Yeah. And granted, I have a selfish bias in that too. But it's, you know, the home where you are living as a young single versus with several kids versus as you're aging are all probably going to be different spaces. When I think when you're 38 too, or 36, like your needs for a home are so different. Yeah. Your expectations are so different. Yeah. And when you're early 20s, like you're just happy to like live in a house. Exactly. Yeah. Like, so that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of them, you know, put it off and then built up like, now I need perfection. Yeah. I need everything I will ever want in a house I need to find now in this one. I love that. So I guess, you know, what would be your biggest advice right now as a seller? You know, what would you, like, what's something that you share with every seller that, you know, kind of prepares them, not for you specifically, but more so like the market and kind of what to expect? Because the market, you know, we're towards the end of the year, okay? Interest rates are coming down. You know, like how are you preparing your sellers right now? So the best way I think I can prepare sellers is to help them understand the reality of how the process is going to go, which is
You are in charge of the condition of your property. That's gonna make, when I show you the comps and we have houses that are here and houses that are here, in general, the difference is condition, right? So sometimes that means you could put on an addition and completely gut and do this for $300,000 and then you can get this price. That obviously would be silly. But people make a choice. I'm doing nothing to, I'm going to do a few things to, I'm going to do everything that's going to get me the most money.
Yeah.
And then my job is to make sure that the most people see it. So there's a counterintuitive model in our industry that's saying we're going to just show this to a few people and that's better.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that works.
I do want to call this out because you'll be modest about it, but I want to make sure we have this recorded because I think this is really important, that something you do that I don't even know if you think it's a big deal, but I think it's a very big deal. But even during COVID, when you knew that that house was going to sell really fast, I saw you always doing videos for your listings.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of us that would say, well, Ruth, like, why are you going to do a video? You're going to list it on Friday. You're going to have 6 offers, but you always, and I know why you did it, because I think it's important and it's a branding for you and it helps your seller and it's professionalism. But what makes you still do that? Because I'm sure there was a thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought behind that.
Well, I'm sure there's a thought where you said, like, I don't really need to do this.
Absolutely.
But what was that reason why you did it?
I could save a lot of money not marketing houses the way I do.
I think it's important because I've never heard you really talk about it, but I always thought it. So
here's exactly why.
Yeah.
You know that even in the best market, there's a weekend that for no reason, this used to happen with my bar too, by the way.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why. Nobody shows up.
Yeah.
You've got an empty open house. And it doesn't, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's snowing, sometimes the sun is shining, sometimes it's 75 degrees and the most gorgeous day ever. There's no telling why or when it's going to happen. I'm not talking about holidays. I'm not talking.
Yeah.
And nobody shows up. And there isn't an offer. Or maybe there's one, which sometimes is worse.
Yeah.
So I never want a seller to say maybe somebody didn't see it. Somebody didn't know it was for sale.
If you would have done this, then
if you would have. So one of the things that I tell my sellers, and this is a hard thing to do because there's no way to quantify it. There's no way to prove it.
Yeah.
My marketing, this I can prove, hits tens of thousands of people. So we use the 2 biggest, most intricate and targeted algorithms on the planet. That's Facebook and YouTube.
Yep.
And so if you're talking about buying a house at the dining room table in front of your phone, you're going to see my ads the next day, right? And tens of thousands of potential buyers who are targeted by those algorithms are going to see that your house is for sale just in that first weekend. There is, between them putting it into the condition they're comfortable with and me marketing it to everyone, you will get the highest possible price.
But I don't even think what you just said, again, you're being modest about it, okay? But what you just said, most people will never understand how important that is.
Yeah.
Because what did we used to do before? We do postcards. You send out postcards, just listed, just sold to 300 people. Facebook is like 10,000, 15,000 like eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize like the advantage of what those things really mean. And you can get an open house and get 20 families through, but a video, you can get a lot more views on those.
And it's not a billboard. It's not going to everybody. It's going to the people that Facebook and YouTube think are most likely to be interested in that content.
Yeah. No, I wanted to mention that because I think it's, I always noticed you do the videos and, I know why you did them, but I just think it's really important for the consumer to know and understand.
Yeah, and you'll notice I also do those for a tiny condo and for
I always say who you work with matters more than ever. And another realtor I know said something to me that I always repeat now is she said, the outcome that you have is not always going to be the same with the same product in real estate. Real estate is one of the few things where you can have a different outcome with the same, list price and everything, because it's your process, your team, your experience. That's what realtors, so when we go through this whole commission lawsuit and everything, like, that's what you're paying for. Like,
right.
And I don't think people realize that. Like
the other thing is that I try to say, a seller, and understandably so, is trying to do the math. So they say this number minus this number equals this number, right? And then they say, and this agent over here will charge me less. So that means I'm going to make more.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, because it's not subtraction. It's algebra. It's X minus Y equals Z, right?
Yeah.
If X is a different number, then so is Z.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the one in the middle is. It matters what you get to.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like the fact that our marketing system is so tight and so hits so many people, so many targeted people, we always know. If there was some way I could figure out to guarantee it, I would. We always know our sellers make the most money they possibly can, because everybody knows their house is for sale. Everybody who might be interested in it.
Well, and anyone can list a house over list price, but it doesn't mean it's going to appraise out. It doesn't mean it's going to close. And, we just had we've had a couple situations where the houses were just listed way over the list price, and it caused massive issues.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important. So the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is you have a group that you have started or co-started. I think a group of you did, and it's called AHA, which is Agents Helping Agents.
Yes.
Okay.
Me and Tracy Kearns.
Okay. You and Tracy Kearns. So, which I participate. We had a meeting today, and I help out and support.
You're a big support.
Because I love the idea. Okay. And what I love about it the most, and I want you to talk about a little bit, is there's not any like motivation other than agents helping agents. And you guys get together roughly about once a month. You have speakers, you have training. And so talk a little bit about that, because I know there's a lot of other groups, but they typically are revolved around some type of like, there's a motive in there. And your group definitely does not have a motive. So can you talk a little bit about that process of starting it and what it's meant to you over the years?
Yeah, so we stole the idea from our friend Elizabeth Riley in Austin, Texas, and I just loved it. We call it broker agnostic. So you can come from any brokerage, and we talk very little about who somebody's sponsored by, unless it's applicable to the conversation. And the other thing is that there's no, we have one rule. I think I can say it.
Yeah.
No a-holes.
Yeah. You can say no assholes. We're not governed by the FCC. Yeah.
You can't be an asshole. That's the only rule we have.
That's a good rule to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it came out of was, it's great. Everybody has, office meetings, or some people don't. But there's typically like sort of almost cliques of realtors who get together. We wanted it to be something open to everyone who wanted to have those kind of conversations, who wanted to just learn from each other, learn from people we bring in. We've had a lot of people who've said, I would have had no idea that this was even, this subject even existed if it weren't for this group.
Yeah.
And we've done all kinds of, it's really eclectic, the kind of things that we bring in.
What always strikes me is that during COVID, everyone stopped going to their office. So you figure you got all these realtors at home, and their connection to their office is way less. And listen, the constant battle for my business, even my office, is how do you get people back to the office? Because it creates, it's hard to have a team or
the energy.
Learn, and the energy, because that is what motivates. Everyone says, oh, I'm good at working at home. I would argue with anyone. We did a study not too long ago where it was like, you took all of our top producers and you said, do you work at home or do you work? Like, there's a method to the madness, and you need to be around other top producers and other people to pull this. So I think your group accomplishes that for a lot of you. And I think it's important that you do that. And I love the group. And I also feel like you attract the right people.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, because like, if you don't have a good mission, okay, you attract assholes.
Yeah.
But you've never had to remove anyone.
Right.
Because people are coming that appreciate what you're doing. And I always see the same people, and they always have such a great, I know you had that great one where you had the guest in from out of state, and the 2 weeks, the
Tom
2 meetings,
from Boston.
yep, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And it just brings so much value. I think it serves such a great purpose in a market that, I think we're all kind of looking to put ourselves in circles that we can extract from.
Yeah, and I think too, there's part of it is just I'm not a competitive person.
Yeah.
Like there's a meme that says you can't beat me because I want you to win too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's literally how I am. Like if I was running a race with somebody, I'd be like, okay, come on, we're almost there.
Yeah.
And not, that doesn't make me better than anybody.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. I really don't understand competing. It doesn't make me comfortable. I really like to collaborate with people.
Yeah.
I love when I can share something with someone and they get some value out of it.
Yeah.
And then if I can get something from them, that's even better.
Yeah.
So that's really what the group is built on. Like, how can we together learn things, share things, just get better? When I started in this business, I was so disappointed when I met a lot of real estate agents.
I agree. Yeah.
And I just kept thinking, I'm going to do whatever I can to make this industry better.
Well, isn't it like people think, oh, if I share this with them, they're going to steal my idea?
They're going to take it. Yeah.
And the reality is, like I always joke about this, like I could tell someone everything I do. The reality is nobody's going to do it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They're not going to do it
because
they're not going to DTFW.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's part of it. And also, in this business, people hire me because of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and by the way, people don't hire me because of me. That's fine.
But that's where you attract the people that you want to work with and the people you want to collaborate with.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the law of attraction.
And if I stole everything from another agent, it's still going to be filtered through me. It's still going to be completely different. It's like, that hit me. One of the first times was when we were exploring video for the first time. And I was like, somebody could use the same script, the same camera angles, they could be wearing the same clothes, and it's still going to be 1,000% difference.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So the you're going to steal my stuff is just really kind of silly.
It's kind of short-sighted too. And I just feel like there's so much better that our industry can do. My industry, your industry. I know one thing that I loved when I came to Rate is, our number one loan officer, Sean, shares everything. Okay. So it's created this culture where we all share everything because we're like, if he can do it,
right?
Why can't all of we? So I think it takes groups like yours and other groups to, provide that example where other people realize, you know what, this is the way it should be. And listen, like I share stuff with people I compete with in the same market. They work for Rate that are within 5 miles from here. Like, I don't really care. Like that is what makes us all better. And at the end of the day, like, I don't want our industry to suck.
Exactly.
Like
that's the big thing to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want somebody to have a crappy experience with a real estate agent, any real estate agent.
Because that bothers you. It bothers me when I see what people do is because, that's a reflection of all of us.
I see, somebody gets a listing in my neighborhood. I don't go take their sign down.
Yeah.
I call them up and I say, hey, you got the schools wrong. The pool doesn't go with that one.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you have any questions, here's my number.
Yeah.
Call me. Like, let's do this together because if that house sells for more, I'm not mad about that. That makes my house worth more money.
Yeah. No, I agree. So
that concept of I'm going to hold things close. And that was one of the things when I came to EXP, that blew me away because that's the culture of the whole company. There are agents who I'm sure, I'm not going to mention any companies, but I know there are some companies where they would not be giving me the time of day.
Yeah.
And when I go to a company event, a convention, et cetera, they're like, Ruth.
Yeah.
People who sell like $1 billion in real estate will be like, how can I help you? What can I do?
Yeah. But that's culture. Like that comes from the top down.
Exactly.
And you have to build that. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens because there's other people that are living that. And people say when you get here, you're like, oh, so this is how it is here.
Yeah.
And then you build a group like AHA Group and you kind of continue that same messaging.
And it does come from the top down.
Yeah.
When it was, I just had my 8th anniversary with EXP.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And shortly after I started, we used to have, unfortunately, Facebook stopped supporting it, but we used to have like our own Facebook that was workplace.
Yeah.
And so we could communicate company-wide. We're trying to get used to Slack now, but people were asking other people about listing presentations. And our founder stepped into the conversation and said, hey, let's have a contest. Everybody upload your files, your listing presentations. Everybody will vote on them. They'll be available to everybody in the company, and the winner gets $5,000 out of my pocket.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's leadership, though.
Yeah.
You need leadership like that. And when you do that, then everything else just kind of flows from there.
And I think everybody at that time, it was still a relatively new company, was just like, this is how it should be.
You know what it also does, though? It diffuses egos.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think defines a lot of, downfall of people in our industry.
Yeah.
Is ego. I tell my guys all the time, and gals, ego can be good. You have a little chip on your shoulder and you confidence, but it can also ruin you.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a leader like that, it kind of cuts through all that, because now it kind of levels the playing field a little bit. It doesn't make it about, oh, we're going to manage from the top down because those are our sweet top producers.
Yeah.
You get the top producers to kind of trickle down, and what it does is it kind of rises everybody up. And I think when companies understand that, it can be really powerful.
Yeah.
So,
and the model, but the model of our company too is all about that lateral support.
Yeah.
So, we have every agent comes in with another agent or under another agent. And so we have tiers of support that just make it so everybody is trying to help everybody else.
Yeah.
And then we get, and not to talk too much about my company, but the point of this is just how it created this culture of collaboration. We all get stock, like for selling a house or whatever, and so because we're all stockholders in the company, we all want the company to do better. And how does the company do better? The agents do better. But
I think what most people don't realize too, though, is like that collaboration, that leadership also helps you help consumers in a more positive, better way.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like having a better listing presentation helps the consumer. Like all these things you guys, the AHA Group, all these things, like at the core of what you guys are doing is trying to help the consumer and help more people and help navigate the process. So there's a really good story behind all of that that sometimes gets lost.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll know that there's an agent in North Carolina who ran into the same issue I'm having with the seller, and I can just reach out and
that's awesome.
Get the answer.
So so before we end up, one of the things I always like to talk about is we don't do this in this business with the hours and everything without a tremendous amount of support, at home.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it's difficult. Like you're gone at times, you have a son, so how has that been? Two sons. Okay. I'm sorry. So how has that been? Okay. To kind of navigate kids, husband, being a wife, being a mom, and then all the craziness that is real estate. Like, how have you kind of managed? And I know being an entrepreneur, you kind of wear many hats.
Yeah.
But how has that been? And, how do you handle all that?
That is a real challenge.
Yeah.
And as you know, my husband is also a licensed real estate agent.
Him in. Yeah.
Yep. And that's hard.
Yeah.
There's times when I didn't do it well, I think. On the other hand, I was pretty much always able to be there when they got off the bus.
Yeah.
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 So
But
you have the
doesn't everyone
flexibility.
always say like we didn't do it well? Like that's a natural feeling that we all have.
I think so.
Yeah.
I always like, oh, I want a do-over.
Yeah.
But
I know.
I did it okay, but I could have done better.
Yeah. That's a natural feeling.
I
though.
think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. It is.
But there's also some things that are, one Sunday, I had a client, we'd seen a house, went through, here's what you need to do if you want to make an offer. I'm doing brunch at my mom's for Mother's Day tomorrow. So let me know,
Yeah.
It's going to take me a couple hours to do all the research and get disclosures and write up the offer and blah, blah, blah. And I was standing with the food I had just made, about to walk out the door to go to my mother's house.
Yeah.
When she texted me, I want to write an offer.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing is probably the hardest to deal with.
Because you never get used to it.
How do you get used to that?
No.
Mom, I'll warm something up later when I get over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never want to be the reason somebody didn't get a house.
Yeah.
So if I can, I'm writing the offer. And clients don't do that kind of thing necessarily on purpose. But those are the kinds of things that when I look back, the dinners I was walking outside to negotiate a inspection.
Yeah.
Those are the hard things. And that's the job. Like you have to be able to take that, and your husband has to be like mine and go,
Yeah,
right.
it's part of well, I mean, it's teamwork. I always say that with, my wife. But one thing I will say is I was thinking about this the other day because my son's 10, and I'm always going 100 miles an hour, and I'm trying to, kind of be there and take him to school and do the things and try to make it all work, and having the same guilt that you do. But one of the things I was thinking about, I don't know, it was a Father's Day not too long ago, and I was thinking about, all the hard work that you're doing. Your kids obviously are watching you do that. And I was starting to think about, my dad always worked nonstop. Even on the weekends, he was always doing something around the house, never sat still.
Yeah.
And it kind of created this work ethic, and this, and I never saw my dad not working. He was always doing something, always busy. And I kind of carry that same thing on the weekends. I'm always doing something around the house if I'm not working. And I think that, you learn that from your parents.
Definitely.
And I think it leaves a lasting impression. And maybe we weren't there as many times as we needed to be, but you're also teaching things that a lot of kids nowadays just don't understand or even appreciate, because they're seeing their mom, entrepreneur, handling all this stuff. That's a big deal. And they may never say anything, but it's something that will always be with them.
And with my dad, they were, they were in the back seat while I was
listening. They could probably
phone,
talk. Yeah.
Or listening to Buffini CDs.
Yeah. So I think it's a big deal, and I think it's something that. But I always say, whenever a loan officer comes to me and they want to get a job in this industry, they're always shocked at what I ask them, because it's not what are your sales skills, whatever. It's what's your support like at home?
Yeah.
Because when you take that call at 8:00 at night, is your significant other going to look at you and be like...
and in the early days, Tim would come home from work.
Yeah.
I would have made dinner, and then I would go out to work at Starbucks or something while he took care of the kids for the rest of the evening.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to have teamwork. You have to have that support. And I think that's what creates a successful business. It's just not about sales.
Yeah.
It's the whole picture.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, if you don't maintain that home, what are you doing the job for?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I always say too, if you're making decisions for money, I always tell my loan officers this: if you're making decisions because you need a closing, you're usually making bad decisions.
Yeah.
If you're making decisions because it's in the best interest of the consumer, that's when the magic happens. And no, most people don't understand. They think those decisions are the same, and they're not.
No.
Yeah.
And that's something I hammered into my team. Anytime you're at all in a conflict about which way to go or what to advise or what to do, you need to stop and say, what's the best thing for the client?
Yeah.
And that's the answer,
Yeah.
no matter what else.
I just talked to a client out of refinancing. They had all these offers from all these different lenders. And I was like, well, send them over to me. And let's go through them. Like, there's no way one of these are going to make sense. And sure enough, it's like $8,000 on one, $15,000 the other, $20,000 on the other in fees. And I went through each one and I was like, listen, I'm like, none of these make sense. Like, and I'm 100% commissioned. Like, like I'm telling you not to do anything.
Yeah.
Like this is a mistake if you do. And he sent me a text about an hour ago and he's like, thank you so much. Talked to my wife. Totally makes sense now. And, that is what being a consumer advocate
Absolutely.
needs to be.
I've done the same. I've talked
Yeah.
people out of buying. I've talked them out of selling. And, sometimes after, spending quite a bit of time and they feel bad. And I'm like, listen, if I help you make the right decision for you, I'm happy. I did my job.
Yeah.
I think that's really important because how else do they know? Like, and that's the thing about, I never feel like I'm in sales.
No, I know. You can't. It's relationships. It's really, and I think if you make it about sales, this business will burn you out really fast.
Yep.
You got to really love people.
Yeah.
To enjoy what we do and do it for an extended period of time and not run yourself into the ground.
Yeah.
And we both know people that have run themselves into the
Absolutely.
ground because they've only had one focus and one focus only. And that's really difficult. So how we always end, really pretty simple. Have a little fun. So now that I've known you worked at a biker bar, and this question could get a little interesting, but if money was not an object, okay, what would would you want to do in life, like career-wise, or just where would you like devote your time to if it wasn't real estate? If money wasn't an object.
If it wasn't real estate, I have to say if it wasn't real estate,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of obsessed with real estate.
Do you have anything that you do outside of work that you're passionate about that, nothing? Shows, TV?
Shows I did.
Like, anything, hobbies?
I did. So I used to be an actress.
Okay.
And that was what I went to school for.
You ever want to go back to that?
I always say I act like a realtor now.
Well, yeah.
And I get to be on video.
We could do a reality show for realtors. Yeah. The AHA reality show. Yeah. I mean, we don't have enough bad representations that yours would be way above everybody else. So,
well, also like, I don't know if you remember, but they tried to do it.
The problem is, not to interrupt you, but if you do a good show about all the good things, nobody would watch it.
Nobody would watch all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Also, no one would watch it if it was really reality.
Yeah.
They tried to do a Law and Order reality show once that was real police and real cases.
And nobody watched.
It was on for like 2 weeks.
It's not as
fake Law and Order's been on for 30 years, but not that one.
Yeah.
So so I just went to New York to see a show with a friend, and that kind of
did it kind of give you the itch a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should do that. So I always say, like, I have weird hobbies. Like, I like washing cars and do stuff like that. But like, and it sounds funny, but my car's never been to a car wash. So like, I hand wash my car at home. Like
can
every
Tim
weekend.
Bring his car over sometime?
Of course, he can bring it over.
He likes to wash cars
if you
too.
saw my garage,
like he could just next to you.
I know, but if you saw my garage, like my wife gets upset because it's cleaner than the rest of the house. So, like that's what I enjoy. But it gives me. I put my headset on. I listen to like a podcast, and it's my way of like just not having like this constant thought about work, even though I'm listening to podcasts.
That's also one of those things where you can see your progress really well. Like
like I tell you this too. It gives me a ton of ideas. Yeah. Because for some reason I can get my head out of this environment and I can go somewhere else and I can like look at my business from. It's hard. It's like clarity is the word I always say, and so that's why I always like asking people because it's like you need something to kind of. I talked to a friend of mine. He said that he's been going back when he gets home. And he started watching Cheers, all the episodes. I was like, I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, why did you start doing that? He's like, listen, I don't need to think when I'm watching Cheers. Like all these new TV shows, like they're so intricate that you have to really pay attention. Yeah. You have to know what's going on. There's characters and what they're doing. And there's like a bigger story. And he's like, I can't do it. He's like, I just need to go home and I'll watch Cheers and I can just sit there and laugh and not think about anything. I was like, Actually, you know, that sounds like a great, you know, so he watched Cheers and then he did Friends. And he's like, I just needed
That
to
is
to
awesome.
not think about it. Yeah.
Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
So when George Wendt came to my bar,
Okay.
he said, "This is the coolest bar I've ever seen in my life."
Wow.
I said, "That's like Jacques Cousteau saying,
Yeah,
nice boat."
exactly. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And then years later, he was in Naperville doing a book reading. He wrote a book about
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah.
And it was at Wentz Hall. And so he was up on the stage and like regular stage, he had lights in his face. And he was taking questions from the audience. And somebody raised their hand and said, "I know you're from the south side of Chicago. What's your favorite bar on Western Avenue?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, gosh, let me think. My sister's having a fundraiser at Cork and Kerry tomorrow. I like Cork and Kerry." Then I raised my hand and he said, "Lady in red over there?" And I stood up and I said, "George, you said my bar, the Limerick, was the coolest bar you ever saw in your whole life." And he goes, "Ruth?"
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Really cool. Yeah. See, you were famous and had this amazing bar. That's awesome. See, I learned something new today. That's why I love doing this podcast because, you learn something new. So I just want to say, thank you obviously for coming on the podcast. But I always say this when I have a guest, not to everybody, but especially to you, is I always judge people not how they treat me, but how they treat my team. And I just want to say thank you because you've always been nothing but amazing to my team, complimentary.
Well, your team is awesome too.
Always saying such nice things. And that says a lot about who you are and the business that you have, that, and you've been extremely supportive to me. Whenever you get up in front of AHA and you introduce me, you always have these wonderful things that you say.
All true.
And I just want to say thank you for that. And I've enjoyed, over the years, getting to know you, working with you, helping with your customers. Like, it's the easiest transaction every single time. You've challenged me a couple times.
Yes.
But there's something to be said. When you refer me a deal and you trust the person that's doing the deal, it creates a level of ease of which we can work, because sometimes we're bombarded with, what's going on here? Did this come in? Did you, and while we can handle that, and that's fine. You always give us that trust.
Yeah.
And it just makes my job so much easier, because then I can focus on the customer.
So me being able to trust you makes my job so much easier. So back at you, but like it is absolutely goes two ways. I mean, I've had sometimes to say nice things about somebody that I had to really look for the nice things to say. You make it easy to find nice things to say about you.
Yeah.
And I remember our conversation years ago when, I started in 2014. Things were very different. The market was very different. People who think they want, they want the market to crash so they can buy a house for cheap, don't have any idea of what was going on, like how hard it was to buy a house, how hard it was to qualify, remember?
Yeah.
And as a result, there were a lot of really crappy loan officers that I was meeting at every turn.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how to help my sellers when we would finally get an offer and then it would fall apart because the buyer wasn't qualified.
Yeah.
And I called you and I said, "I have a question for you."
Yeah.
And you were like, "Okay, what?"
Yeah.
How many of the pre-approvals that you write later don't go through?
Yeah.
And you were like, "You mean like they're not qualified?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. 0?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the answer I was looking for. I figured that seems like it's the right answer.
Well, it goes back to what I said. It's all the work you do up front.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing that again, with people not understanding the process, not understanding how it works, not understanding how we are their team. Like we really are. You have something you say about being their confessor.
I don't know. I say so much.
Something about, you have to tell Eric all of the things. Don't try to hide something from him because it's not going to go well for you. He will keep the seal of the confessional.
If I know everything, I can help you. If I find out, and we're going to figure it out anyways,
right.
9 times out of 10.
Or
it's going to come up at a very inconvenient time.
Exactly. If you don't figure it out, that's when they have to worry.
Yeah.
So understanding that level of trust that they have to have in you is well earned and that it isn't common.
Yeah.
That the majority of lenders that I work with do not rise to the level of service, of competence, of experience that you do. And I cannot overstate the horror
Yeah.
of being in a transaction that's going to fall apart because the lender didn't do their job.
Well, I always say you can teach anybody the real estate business or the mortgage business, but you cannot teach them to care.
Right.
And there's plenty of people that I've hired on my team. I could go out and get like amazing talent, but they don't care enough to where they're going to leave at 5 o'clock and not be able to sleep that night because they have a client that's not going to be able to close the next day. Like, I want the people that, you know, lay up in bed at night.
Exactly.
That are like, I got to figure this out.
Because I do.
Yeah, because I do, because I'm the same way. And,
Right.
and it sounds crazy, but that's why, you know, Jody and I have worked together, you know, for over 20 years. And, you know, she's my ride or die, but that's, you know, but she's talented and she cares.
Right.
And she will go to heaven and earth to make sure a client gets in a home, and it will bother her. And you just, you can't, you know, you can't teach that.
Yeah.
You can't coach that. You either have it or you don't. And there's no gray area in between.
Right.
Nothing. And I think the other thing is I think you got to have good people around you.
Yeah.
You have great people around you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, I do.
I am just the face that gets to go out and
Same.
do all the fun stuff.
Same.
You know, my team is the one that has to do all the work. That's why it's so important how people treat my team, because I don't think people understand, like, I'm the leader. It's my vision, but I got to get all these people to buy into
Right.
what the heck I want to do. And they don't make the money that I do. So I got to get them to buy in, you know, to my vision, what I want, sell my name, be okay with making me look good. That's not easy to do. But when you do it, the ability to treat your customers in a way that other people don't and not let things fall through, that is what I think most loan officers fail at.
Yeah.
Is that they're not thinking of it as like a business or the customer experience. They're looking at it from how many loans can I close each month, and this is what I'm going to make. And what I always learned is I don't even people laugh when I say this, but it's so true. I hardly ever look at my commissions.
Same.
It could be off by thousands of dollars for the last 10 years. I probably wouldn't even know.
I'm lucky I have Tammy. She checks that for me.
I mean, honestly, like, I'll glance at it and I'll go through, but I don't spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is that if I'm helping enough people and consumers are happy and I'm getting good, you know, response back from everything else kind of takes care of itself. And I just always have focused on that. And I had a loan officer one time tell me that they made a mistake on his paycheck and it was a zero. So it was a large amount of money. Okay. And they actually came back to him at the end of the year and were like, hey, just so you know, like, we owe you. They had an accounting thing and they're like,
Wow.
you know, and he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I never, and I was like asking him, I was like, you know, how does that even happen? Like, I was going at that time, like, through
Right.
like every loan and every dollar out.
With the 75 cents.
And he's like, the more you focus on that, the more you lose sight of what's, you know, really important. So I've always, like, you know, done that. But, you know, I appreciate you saying all the nice things. But I think in this business, I use the word attract a lot. I think the best thing about this business, when you've been in it long enough, you attract the people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fire a lender. It's okay to fire a realtor, but it's also okay to fire a client that's not a good fit. You want to attract the people that you want to work with, because those are the people that are going to have the biggest impact on you.
And they're the people I can do the best job for.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
So
100%.
again, like for a while, I wanted, you know, I wanted everybody. I wanted to help everybody.
We all do that in the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I realized, you know, those people are somebody else's people.
Yeah.
That's
why I asked the question though in the beginning about, do you offer a seller this option or you do this? Because I feel like the more you try to be everything to everyone,
Exactly.
you end up making a lot of sacrifices personally.
Yep.
And those people get run over
And they're
all the
never
time.
really going to be happy.
Yeah.
Because you can't go all the way over to be somebody else or
You know a
do
realtor though
something
that
else.
every time you talk to her, it's like, or him, it's like every client's like an issue.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is not the clients.
Right.
They don't have that process
Exactly.
and systems where people are kind of like falling into and don't kind of, like run you ragged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a really small team because, like you, I have, Lisa is all of the things you're talking about. She cares about people. She wants to do a good job. She would be up all night if there was an issue. She will see things through that need to be. And obviously Tammy is, I would not be in business without her. Monica, who does our marketing, works like she gets inside my brain and figures out what I'm looking for and can bring that to me, and then I can help clients better. And when you put it all together and then you systemize everything so that you've got it running like a machine, it's a completely different experience than somebody who's winging it.
Well, and again, it goes back to when customers are confused and they don't have clarity, a good process can provide clarity and kind of drown out a lot of the noise and just give a much better experience.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day is what we want. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
This was way, I'm so excited to see this at the end because I think there's a lot of great stuff in here. And it was just so great to get to know you. I found out, that you owned a bar. Again, this is why this podcast is so great. I never knew that. So I'm expecting you now to do some acting after your 15-year in New York. So I want to hear back on that since you got the bug. And then, again, just thank you for everything and being such a great partner over the years. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.